Let's go. Greg's got the news, Danny's got the flair. One talks the cloud, the other's out there. Servers spinning, bites keep grinning. Tech talk laughs, let's get the show winning. Cyberwise guys, we're cracking the code. Tech and chuckles on overload. Urge your dreams, cybersecurity schemes. It's the podcast you need, like coffee and memes.
Welcome to Cyber Wise Guys, where we break down the latest trends, threats, and technologies in cybersecurity, helping you stay one step ahead and cyber wise. Hey, Greg, how are you doing today?
Great, Danny. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you very much.
Excellent.
So today we don't have a special guest. We just wanted to talk about something that on everybody's mind is AI. And
Yes.
one of the biggest players, if not the biggest in AI today, is Microsoft.
Yes.
And Microsoft, I don't know if Microsoft calls it their brand, but CoPilot. Right, they have a wide variety of CoPilot products, CoPilot for
That is correct.
365 and what have you. But they also
Copilot
have
for everything, Danny.
the CoPilot for everything, right? Because
Yes.
people can't do it themselves, right? They need assistance.
Right.
So that's good.
That's correct.
So what I wanted to talk to you about today, and I know you are the expert, maybe aside
Wow.
of the Microsoft people, or outside the Microsoft people, you're the expert here. So I wanted to talk to you about a specific Copilot, which is Security Copilot. So if you
Yeah.
don't mind, maybe
Sure.
give us a little bit of background into Microsoft Copilot and what is the difference between Security Copilot and all the others.
Absolutely. Well, I think it's easiest if we go step back a little bit as to what was going on with LLMs a couple years ago, actually. Now, LLMs had come out, OpenAI, GGP3. I remember, Danny, when I told you for the first time, hey, have you checked out ChatGPT? And you're like, what? See who? Yeah. So OpenAI released this LLM, large language model. Entrepreneurs and people around the world, the ability to interact with it through a chat app, which is what you see when you go to ChatGPT. Well, all of the industry in AI and in IT and all the big players, they decided, well, we have to harness this somehow. So Microsoft has, everyone knows, entered a deal with OpenAI. And the way that they harness this LLM is through their own agent, essentially, which is called CoPilot, right? By this time, everybody understands that CoPilot does things like help you create PowerPoints or helps you sort through your email or summarize an article. Does a lot of really cool things. But one thing it doesn't do especially well, because it's not designed to do so, is cover security.
Okay.
So if you try to ask CoPilot for 365 or standard CoPilot for Bing, if you go to the Bing site there, or if you just type CoPilot and use that, what it doesn't do very well is asking it to do something like, hey, give me the security incidents for, any security incidents that have to do with Danny Frenkel, right? So it couldn't find that for you. It wouldn't know where to begin because it doesn't have those connections to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So Microsoft realized this and they said, well, we really do need to give something to our security community. And they created essentially another kind of Copilot, which again is an app to interact with an LLM, that is Security Copilot. You may have heard the terms Copilot for security, Security Copilot. It's the same thing. Even me, you'll hear me when we talk about this interacting or going between both of those names, but it's the same creature. So Security Copilot is grounded, which means it has references to all the major security services, with Sentinel, Defender for Cloud, even data protection like Purview, or device management like Intune. So there's a lot that it can do. So that's really the main difference. It's Security Copilot is a separate entity that actually lives in Azure, while regular Copilot lives in the Microsoft cloud. Security Copilot actually exists and lives in Azure. So those two things and its focus on security are really what differentiates Security Copilot.
Gotcha. Okay. So if I understand you correctly, and I'm going to make sure that I'm obviously going to paraphrase here, all of the copilots can be named as efficiency tool. Security Copilot would be an efficiency tool for security practitioners, right? So it's not going
That's
to
fair.
be for the everyday user in an organization. It would be for the IT admins, security admins that basically runs the security for certain organizations. So with that in mind, right? What other Microsoft products does it integrate with, right?
Well, there's a number of Microsoft products, anything that is security related. So I mentioned them already. Of course, Microsoft Sentinel, Defender for Cloud, which is your CSPM or your cloud security posture management in the cloud in Azure. Microsoft Defender and all of the Defender suite. So Defender for everything, right? IoT, Defender for endpoint, all of that. Also, it interacts with Intra ID, although Intra is not necessarily a security tool. It has many security related responsibilities that it needs to interact with. Also on data protection and governance, we have Purview. And then again, something like if you want to manage all your devices through Intune, it also interacts with Intune. And those are just the direct plugins, right? This ability for the Security CoPilot to interact goes beyond just Microsoft products. So
Okay.
you can connect it to other security tools like VirusTotal or Red Canary or you name it. If you
Okay.
have a particular plugin that you want to connect it to, there exists inside of Security CoPilot the ability to load a YAML file in with that particular connection, and you can then reference that information from Security CoPilot.
Okay. So creating plugins, that's available right now, I guess, for
Yes.
people to go ahead and do that. So have you had the
Mhm.
chance to do so?
Yes, I have.
So
I had, but
I'm wondering, so if you have, can you talk a little bit about the experience you had in developing
sure.
a plugin?
Plugins are really, again, they are the knowledge bases for Security CoPilot, right? They provide the connection to a knowledge base. If we talk a little bit about what normally happens with an LLM, when you create it, essentially what it is you're creating an app for it, right? An app needs to have some kind of database to reference, and the LLM needs to have that as well. So the way it works in Security CoPilot is these plugins then provide all of that information to Security CoPilot for whatever it needs to do. So when I found a problem, for example, I was using going in manually to look at licensing, right, for Azure and to discover what the partners had. And so there was a problem I found. That was the first step, is finding the pain point or the problem on what you want to solve. My next step was, do I have anything that I can use natively that hasn't already been built? And there was nothing directly that made it efficient that I could use. So what I did was I created essentially what says a YAML file that directs Security CoPilot to Defender for Cloud and uses Microsoft Graph, which is why I had to use a plugin and not just the direct already built-in connection, to go in and look for specific licensing. So if I am able to grab the licenses that they currently have, it makes it easier to have a discussion on, if you don't have this function like Defender for Identity, here's the license that you would need.
Gotcha.
So I can then do that because now I have access through Microsoft Graph and Entra and Azure that I can now grab that information more efficiently. Can I do that without the plugin? Well, I can, but the problem is it's very inefficient and it uses up a lot of SCUs. And SCUs are how we measure it, pay for Security CoPilot.
So can the plugin assist in key security scenarios like phishing investigation, ransomware responses, or insider threats and detection?
There are several plugins that allow you to do that. The plugins that already exist, like, for example, the ones for all the Defender suite, like Defender for Office is where you'd look for phishing emails. And then threat intelligence, those already exist natively. So you wouldn't even have to build anything. The only thing you do is reference that in your prompts. Or if you're even better, Security CoPilot is smart enough to know that if you're asking about email, it's going to go right to Defender for Office and use that plugin. So it will automatically do that. But if you say you had wanted to enrich it with something more, you're very particular about using abuse IP, or you want to use VirusTotal, or any number of threat intelligence feeds that are out there, you can create a custom plugin that would then go and grab those. So when you do prompts for whatever it is you're asking, it will go to that particular plugin to grab that information. So if you say, hey, what does VirusTotal say about this? Or what is my new plugin source? What does it say about this particular IP address, right? We can use that to bring in new information that doesn't already exist as a native plugin into Security CoPilot.
Gotcha. Thank you. So I want to take a step back here, and we spoke about security users and how Security CoPilot and your plugin can help them with.
Right.
I want to take a step back and talk about SOC environment. I know you
Yes.
have a lot of experience. So can you maybe tell us how Security CoPilot and then possibly your plugin can help SOC analysts sitting and watching the screens? Because many organizations won't. The reason I want to take a step back here, many organizations are not going to have the technical bench to run security, so they default to SOC service, SOC as a service, right? A third-party company that provide monitoring and defense against attack. So in that frame of SOC environment, how would Security CoPilot will make the lives of the analyst easier?
Well, for a while now, kind of the golden ability that we wanted to have when we were in the SOC is to make those things that we do daily and routinely automated, right? So what I mean by that is mostly is triage. Many organizations, and I was part of the DoD and DISA on the federal side, we had thousands of these notifications a week, right? Hundreds a day. And most of them, almost all of them were benign, but we were just drowning in them. But we had to do it by hand, one by one. Now, if we had at that time, if we'd had some kind of LLM that could help us assess this and let us know when there's something that we need to look deeper into, that would be very helpful. Now, we do have with Security CoPilot agents, right? These are agents built by Microsoft that allow us to do things like data enrichment, active purview. There's one called the phishing triage agent, which will allow you to run this, and it will triage all of your phishing incidents that occur.
Gotcha.
So it gets feedback from you and says, hey, and it begins to learn what is a phishing email look like in your environment. So to answer your question, Danny, SOC analysts can be more efficient because they're allowed then to put their energy into the places where it can make real difference. And I mean, in real investigations. So again, if I'm able to eliminate 95% of my benign positive or false positives, and I'm able to just push forward to the analysts what incidents need to be investigated, that does a lot for not only your efficiency, but it helps prevent analyst burnout because a lot of the times these guys are just closing them because we have no reason that this is always the way it is. So they have now this agent that can help them with that. And not just in one area, not just in something like phishing, but again, in data enrichment and even doing things like going into Purview and looking at the latest and greatest of data protection alarms, things like that really help you from when you have to jump from service to service to service, you can now do with these Microsoft built agents that can help you with that.
So would you mind maybe sharing a little bit or give us a little bit of a glimpse into Security CoPilot and and the plugin that you developed, and as you go, maybe describe how that would help security practitioners?
Sure. Yep, I can definitely do that. All right. So take a moment here. All right, Danny, you see my screen?
I can definitely see your screen.
All right.
Yes.
All right. So these are what we're looking at here. These are agents. Actually, you can see that there's access review agent, Purview, all these agents here. These are all built by Microsoft. Now, you may ask yourself, do I have the ability to build my own? Not at this time. It's definitely certainly something that's in the future, but at this time, really, it's only what Microsoft released. But I wouldn't worry too much about it. I think we're going to get that pretty soon.
Very good.
But going on to Security CoPilot itself, we'll just go home here, and of course, there's this big page full of hey, you can look at Security CoPilot, and we have a number of prompts. Before we look at the plugins, Danny, I'm just going to run a quick prompt here so we can just see what Security CoPilot does and how it's the same as doing sort of a chat GPT. So these ones are already built in. You can write whatever you want, but let's just pick one. Okay, critical sentinel incidents. We'll just click on that. So it populates. We hit run. It's doing its thing. Remember that Security CoPilot is an orchestrator, right? So it's an app that uses the LLM of OpenAI. And this OpenAI exists inside of the Microsoft trust boundary. So it's a read only. It's not using your information or anything you hear to train on it, train itself. It's not going outside of Microsoft, and it's certainly not communicating with OpenAI, the company.
Gotcha.
So this, so you can see it shows you exactly what it's doing, and it looks like there's a number of resource groups that I would need to select to say, hey, which one do you want? I can respond with it. We'll grab Cyber Range demo because that's the one where I have most of my stuff.
Yeah, and for those, while you do that, for those listeners and viewers of this podcast, this episode, that are not familiar with our Cyber Range, I want to throw you back to the last episode of our first season where we discussed the Cyber Range and its capabilities.
Yes. All right. So it looks like the demo gods are not with me today, Danny. So we'll just go right to those plugins. But let's see if we go to Defender and try that one. We'll grab an incident out of Defender. I'm going to get my Defender out over here, and I'll bring it over so you can all see it here. I use this tenant to run my honeypot. And so it's really filled with all kinds of high to crazy alerts right now. All right, Danny. So I went ahead and I found an incident for us in Defender, and I'll go ahead and run this. Looking at our incident, it's processing the request. What I like about this is normally if you were going to do this in a chat sort of environment, like if you went to GPT, you'd have to do what's called chain of thought prompting. So, Danny, you can see here we have our incidents for Defender. Yep. It gives us all the information we need, and of course, a summary of what's going on with that particular incident. So that's a really basic. It's the most basic function. It just allows you to bring all this information in, right? So otherwise, I would have to look at the specific entities here. I'd have to read a timeline. There's so many things I can do. So this just saved me a bunch of time doing this. So now if we go to Security CoPilot and we want to look at the plugins, right? So here's our plugin settings. We want the plugins themselves. We just go back to our sessions, and our plugins are right here. We call them sources. And this gives us a list of plugins that are available. So here is everything from Microsoft. Firewall, Defender XDR, there's Sentinel, of course. Sentinel seems to be the primary plugin. Threat intelligence, just all the ones I talked about. And there are a number of ones that are built in for third parties as well. So you can see I have hash lookup here. I have Shodan if you're doing more red teaming. But you can set up any of these depending on what licenses you have with those particular companies. If you have an account already, say with Darktrace, then you could add your Darktrace keys in here. So all these different security plugins that you can use to do whatever it is you want. And then we have one that is a generalized plugin that allows Security CoPilot to go right to the web and do its thing here. So the one I have here is the Security License Agent. So if I want to use the Security License Agent to grab license information out of CoPilot or out of Azure, I can do that as well. So if I enter that information into a prompt, let's say licenses, do I have in my tenant? Like that, and it will look for the available sources. It shows that security agent license that I license agent that I built for the plugin, and there it is. So it gives me that I have an E5 license. I have security E3 for mobility and security. I'm on a P2 license, and it shows me all of the things that I can do with my licensing, as well as if what I don't have, special features that I can have if I extended my licensing. So that is one of the custom license or custom plugins that I was able to build because there wasn't one directly. Like I said before, if I wanted to grab these licenses by just prompting, sure, you could do that. but again, it's not that efficient. And so there was a need for me to do that. So I created this plugin to work for me. And it could be used by any prompt that requires licensing query, and it could be used by anyone.
So this seems to me like a great tool for a partner that manages customers'
Yes.
licensing, right? And
Yes.
not just around security, but licensing at all, and specifically around security. So if I'm a security reseller or Microsoft CSP, and I want to make sure that my customer is properly protected, this plugin that you put together seems like a great tool. I
Yes.
know that it's been in a preview for quite some time now. What is some of the feedback that you've received from partners that's seen this plugin?
Yeah. I think the feedback has been very positive, but positive feedback is nice to get. However, I want something more. And that the reason why I work with you, Danny. Well, I really want the problems they're having with it. And I've had some really great partners that have said, "Hey, Greg, we think this does great things for us. However, we want to know what the licensing look like as far as efficiency, right? So if I have 50 licenses available and I'm only using 3, they going to want to know that. Like, hey, could you have something that does that? So extend the licensing so we know which individual license are assigned, or better yet, what aspect of their licensing are they not using? So if there is an inefficiency that a customer is not using all of the security services to which they're being licensed, then that is an opportunity for our partners to get engaged with them, either to provide enablement services like training, or maybe even just like a hand holding and getting these services moving, or making them aware that, hey, do you need these kind of services? Let's make sure that we have the right licensing solution for you, so that we're getting exactly what you need in your environment without an inefficient cost structures. It really is some great feedback I've gotten, and that'll be in the version 2, which is coming up pretty soon.
So thank you, Greg, for the
Yes.
quick demo and explanation of Security CoPilot and your plugin. And I wanted to ask you kind of like
Yes.
to maybe get our conversation into a wrap here. What excites you most about Security CoPilot, how it's being developed? Because I know that you have some eyesight into how things are being developed within
Yes.
Microsoft, and what excites you the most around plugins and agents that
Right.
would be available in the near future for
Yeah.
users
There's
and partners to develop.
absolutely, Danny. There's a lot of excitement going on right now. I mentioned it earlier that I think pretty soon we're going to be able to get the ability to create our own agents. So there's been some talk about that for a while now. So I'm really positive in my view that we're going to get something like that soon, which would be amazing, right? So the ability for us to bring agents that we can create as citizen developers into Microsoft would be fantastic. And that's my great hope coming up in the near future. And those plugins are not going to be irrelevant. They're going to be very much part of that, because if you're able to build an agent, I would assume that you would need to have great plugins underneath it, because there's a little tech talk here. There's an LLM will use, since this is considered what's called a RAG, a retrieval augmentation generation, right? So it doesn't use a vector database. So essentially, it doesn't have a database all on its own where it's drawing information from. It uses grounded plugins for that database information. So this RAG AI then is using these plugins. So the greater the number of plugins that they have a relationship to what you're doing, the more accurate and more powerful that your data is going to become. And then if there's some kind of agency there, it's even more efficient, and you're going to even get a better result. So yeah, my great hope is that we will soon have something that we can do on our own with agents. And hey, Ignite's coming up, so maybe we'll get something there. I hear there might
Yeah.
be something. We'll see. So yeah, we'll see what's going on.
Promises. We'll see.
Indeed.
So if a partner, right, if a channel partner, a reseller, a Microsoft CSP wants to get a taste of your plugin,
Yes.
I guess they can reach out to you at
Wilson. Yeah.
Gregory.
Yes.
at tdcnext.com or drop you maybe a message on LinkedIn.
Yes. And Danny, it's a simple YAML file. It's a simple YAML file. So exporting that plugin to them is really easy. I would just send them the YAML file. They would load it in and they're good to go.
Okay. And at this point, there's no cost for that, right? If someone wants to try it.
No. Yeah, absolutely. We're not interested in selling plugins. That's something maybe if a partner, as one of our partners, if that's something you want to monetize, go for it. I think that's fantastic. That's one of the advantages of what I do is do that. So yeah, please use that.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Greg, for all of that information today. It seems exciting and I can't wait to see what happens in the near future.
Yes.
And with that, I'd like to thank you. I would like to thank our listeners and viewers.
One more thing, Danny.
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead. Yes.
I think we're probably going to have something coming up soon. You and I are going to be talking in person at some point here in the next week. So who knows? Might have something additional for all you CyberWise guys out there. CyberWise guys. What do we call our fans? CyberWise guys Nation? Do we call them the Nation?
Just the Wisers.
The Wisers.
The Wisers.
Yes.
There you go.
All of you Wisers out there.
So with that, for all of you Wisers, right?
Cyber Wisers.
Thank you for tuning in, because staying secure means staying smart. Until next time, stay vigilant, stay informed, and stay cyber wise. Thank you.
Let's go. Greg's got the news, Danny's got the flair. One talks the cloud, the other's out there. Servers spinning,